Good day everyone, this is Sri Kumar Muralidharan and this is my robot Captain Kunka, and this submission is a part of the project for autonomous robots. And over here I'm just going to be giving a brief description about the robot and why to do this project. So the global pandemic, COVID-19, shook the world and brought it to a standstill. Its effect on daily life has been widely documented, people accepting the new norm to stay home in fear of catching the deadly virus. In spite of the efforts taken by the governments, the virus reigns supreme. Well, till a few months back. The new year ushered in a new era in the fight against the pandemic, the availability of multiple vaccines. The main concern? How do we ensure that the vaccine reaches the masses without involving too many humans in the process? We do know that the best way to counter the pandemic is to limit human interaction unless absolutely necessary. The vaccine distribution and administration process presents a unique opportunity for the application of autonomous robots in medical environments. In this project, we aim to use an autonomous robot to transport vaccines from the cold storage area to an insertion area. Before we take a look at the arena, let's try to understand what these colorful blocks are. These blocks represent each of the vaccines that are available at the United States of America. The blue model right here represents the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, the green model over here represents Moderna, and the red one represents Pfizer. Each of them are color-coded, and the robot will try to pick up the object as soon as it is able to see a QR code which specifies which vaccine needs to be tried. Let's take a closer look at Captain Kunka. His body is made of the Baron 4-wheel drive mobile platform, and it comes with 4 motorized wheels, with 2 of them attached with optical encoders. The heart of the robot is the Raspberry Pi Module 3B Plus over here, and it also contains a camera, which is an accessory for the Raspberry Pi, and the camera is the one that is responsible for perceiving the environment in front of us. The gripper over here is coupled with a servo motor, and the gripper is the one that is capable of picking up the objects and trying to deliver it to the goal region. We have an ultrasonic range sensor over here, which is going to detect obstacles in front of us. We now have an IMU that is connected to an Arduino Nano, subsequently connected to the Raspberry Pi. The IMU is responsible for giving us the readings of the robot's orientation at a particular run. With this information, we can calculate the goal state at which the robot has to move when it's moving in a straight line, and the current angle at which the robot is headed in that direction. And using this information, we can calculate the error in the actual readings and try to fit in a proportionality controller so that we can make sure that the robot moves in a straight line. Over here, we have an Hitch Bridge, which is actually a motor driver, which is responsible for powering the 4 wheels over here. Also, we have a safety switch that is enabled over here just to make sure that the robot does not go astray and the robot is capable of stopping when we need it. Basically, that's a kill switch. Let's take a look at the arena. The arena is a 12 feet by 12 feet space for carrying the vaccine from the cold storage area to an insertion point right here. Initially, the vaccines are kept at the cold storage area, and the robot is given information about which vaccine needs to be transported from here to the goal region. Once the robot receives a QR code, it goes to pick on the vaccine from the cold storage area and traverses the map to reach the goal region. As you can see, there are certain waypoints for the robot to travel through. The first waypoint is that after picking up the vaccine, the robot comes to the start position, turns 180 degrees, and then proceeds forward till it reaches this particular QR code. It scans the QR code, learns that it has to turn left, and then follows the path to the goal region. Once it scans the secondary QR code over here, it waits for a person to show their face so that by facial recognition, it'll understand that the robot has to drop the object over here. And then it takes a 180 turn and goes back and then views this particular arrow and localizes itself and turns right to proceed towards the starting point. And this cycle continues till all the 3 vaccines have been transported safely from the cold storage area to the insertion region. Obviously, since this is a dynamic environment, there are going to be obstacles along the path. And there's an obstacle right here, which is going to obstruct the robot movement from starting to the cold insertion point diagonally, which is still possible. That is the shortest possible path. But then to prevent that, we have kept an obstacle over here. Also, the robot is capable of detecting dynamic obstacles, like a human presence over there, and it'll stop before the human moves, so that it has to avoid the obstacle. Let's now discuss the performance of the robot during the grand challenge. The robot was perfectly capable of picking up the objects and placing it inside the insertion area. The graphs shown above were for individual models, and we tried to come up with the unique trajectory for each of the parts. During the grand challenge, the robot managed to pick up 2 out of the 3 objects. It actually pushed over the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, but the distance estimation was done perfectly, as can be seen from the bounding box around the blue model. However, these sort of things happen. Also, the other 2 vials were placed just outside the insertion area. This was possibly due to a small incremental error with respect to the initial left turn it took after facing the QR code. I would like to list a few of the main challenges and observations that I had during the Grand Challenge run. The first being, batteries severely impact the performance of the robot. Very fresh batteries sometimes make the robot behave weirdly. However, after a couple of trial runs, the robot is in prime running condition. Also, while doing a task continuously for a time period of say 8 to 9 minutes, the motor driver tends to get heated up and the performance of the robot slightly deteriorates. The second point, the performance of the robot is inversely proportional to the number of delays and sleep cycles present inside the code. I successfully overcame these inhibitions by implementing the concept of multi-threading. The IMU values and the encoder values were obtained from a separate thread rather than while performing an action. The main advantage of a thread is that calculations happen parallelly while not impacting the flow of our code. The third main observation was that lighting conditions heavily impact the HSV values for our models. Luckily, I had experimented a lot with the HSV values for each of the models under different lighting conditions to perfectly estimate the size of the model to calculate the distance to the object. The fourth point being, although the obstacle detection pipeline was not implemented during the Grand Challenge, it is now completely incorporated and fully functional. The fifth point is that a basic proportional controller was not sufficient for straight line correction. For a better implementation, we could possibly look at the bang bang controller and make it work in tandem with a PID controller. That brings us to the end of the project. You can find the link to the GitHub repository in the description. Thank you.
Bye.